just like I taught you.
When did you teach me that?
I didn't. It's a little joke for team building.
The Sticky-Fingered Family, which won the top prize in Cannes, we check out Kore-eda's Shoplifters. Roma is Alfonso Cuaron's poetic take on his childhood, and arachnophobes beware, Spiderman is back on our screens. Film critic Lisa Nesselson joins me for all of that. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
Now we're starting with a film which won the top prize, the Palme d'Or, at the Cannes Film Festival in May. It's out in France this week. Tell us more about the Japanese film Shoplifters.
Well, Kore-eda, the director, specializes in stories about families and about what actually constitutes a family. The French title of Shoplifters translates as a family story. They're both accurate. And a Japanese friend tells me the original Japanese means family of petty thieves. Shoplifters is a carefully layered, very rewarding film, and the less you know about it going in, the better. It thumbs its nose at so-called family values in a really smart way.
Okay, well, let's hear from the director of that film on poverty in Japanese society, and let's take a look at some of those non-law-abiding characters at work.
When I was a child, we were told that no one in Japan lived in poverty, that we were all part of the middle class. But today, it's a fact that inequality is increasing. Poverty exists. We just close our eyes to it and do everything we can to exclude these people.
So in terms of the family structure, most cultures say it's the parents' responsibility to put food on the table for the children, to educate them, but they don't always specify how you're meant to do that.
That's true. Now, there are options for providing for the people you live with. These are Japanese city dwellers on the margins of Tokyo, so they would probably opt for rice. But let's just say you need bread. So you can get a job, earn money, go to a bakery and buy a loaf of bread, or you can apply the five-finger discount to some bread. Now, Jean Valjean of Les Miserables fame will tell you that's probably not the ideal way to go about it.
Didn't work out well for him.
No, but our protagonists, who span several generations, are really good shoplifters. So they've been well-trained to steal efficiently. They steal on a pretty much daily basis, and they're also a very nice family.
Stealing things from shops is not the only things they take.
Well, whether they've stolen her, as in kidnapped, or just borrowed, as in rescued, an adorable little girl ends up with them. The extended family extends kindness that the girl isn't getting in her rightful home. So where is she better off, with her real parents or with this ramshackle but loving enterprise? There's effortless sophistication at work here. The movie starts out as, or seems to be, one thing and then turns into another. And by that I don't mean it's set in contemporary Japan one day and ends up on Mars, but there is a sort of narrative realignment of the planets, shall we say, that alters the emotional orbits in fascinating ways. By then we know the characters well enough to truly care about their fortunes, and that's what makes this director's touch and this story so special.
Okay, that's definitely one to watch. Now, next we're going to a film that critics are gushing about, Alfonso Cuaron's autobiographical look at his childhood in the Roma neighborhood of Mexico City, and the film is called Roma. It's streaming on Netflix for subscribers worldwide from December 14th.
Yes, well, Roma won't be released in French movie theaters because that would mean France would have to shoot itself in the foot. I'll elaborate on that in a moment. I saw this under ideal conditions on a huge screen at a film festival, and while it's a beautifully made portrait of the two women who raised Cuaron, I was slightly underwhelmed. I have to say, I much prefer the director's Children of Men or Gravity. Now, those were ambitious movies in English. This, set in 1970-71, is a meticulous Spanish dialect recreation of the director's childhood home and the four kids' relationship to their nanny, who is definitely a crucial, vital part of their family, and yet is a paid servant, not really part of the family. While revisiting his parents' marriage against a backdrop of intense political upheaval, Cuaron portrays issues of class that went right over his young head.
Okay, well, let's get a glimpse of the film in ravishing black and white. So that clip looks pretty good on a TV, but as you mentioned, I bet you'd rather be watching it on a cinema screen.
Well, of course, no doubt. Cuaron has been extremely positive about working with Netflix and being allowed to make the film that he wanted to make, that he had in mind, personal, in black and white. He insists on incredibly detailed production design and especially sound design. And all of that comes across best in a theater. The head of Netflix, however, gave an interview here in France where he chided the French for being too nostalgic about movie-going as a communal experience and said the French are too attached to their theaters.
Well, he would say that because he's trying to push his product, and his product is technically in competition with cinemas.
Of course, exactly. Netflix is dedicated to showing the films it bankrolls to its subscribers on household devices, but they have no interest in supporting the brick-and-mortar viewing experiences. Now, this is the important part. The entire French film industry, where attendance in theaters last year was the third best it's been in 50 years, is based on an absolutely ingenious virtuous circle. How does it work? A small percentage of every movie ticket sold goes into a fund to make French films, and that applies whether it's a dumb French comedy or a small Romanian film or, say, Black Panther. So think about it. Unlike streaming services, movie theaters support an awful lot of people, from popcorn companies to cashiers to poster designers to cleaning staff, and while we're at it, film critics.
Indeed. And so what you're saying is that France doesn't want to jeopardize all of that, especially because Netflix doesn't want to play by the French rules.
Well, so far France has been smart enough to see that the Netflix model could lead to disaster for a large domestic and export industry. Now, of late, the French people who can't make ends meet and who are wearing those yellow vests, in interview after interview, they've said one of the things that bothers them is that they can no longer afford to go out to the movies. So going out to see a movie in France is almost on the same level as putting food on the table, having a roof over your head. And interestingly, at the Venice press conference for Roma, the director, referring to one of Japan's greatest directors, asked the press, oh, come on, when was the last time you saw an Ozu film in a theater? Well, Michel Simon of venerable French film magazine Positif said, well, at the same moment he was saying that, all over France, there were 10 beautifully restored Ozu films made available by the French distributor Carlotta Films showing, and they also did well. People came to see them. So France is different, France is special, and for now there is no good reason to capitulate to Netflix.
Okay, definitely one of those only in France moments. Well, a sense of déjà vu for our next film, as new versions of Spiderman seem to be quite regular. The latest animated version, out this week in France, is called Spiderman Into the Spiderverse. Were you caught up in this web of intrigue?
Not in the slightest. Right? I think we're apolitical here. Stop that. Well, there are all kinds of spiders, and so it makes sense that a Spider-Man film would tackle what we've come to call diversity. In the original comic, Peter Parker, a teenager who happens to have white skin, was bitten by a radioactive spider and discovered he could shoot gooey but strong whitish glop from his body, which enabled him to stick to the sides of buildings and also swing between them to rescue the denizens of a comic book New York. Peter Parker, alias Spider-Man, is part of this story. But however, here we meet Brooklyn High School student Miles Morales, who is drawn with brown skin. So he belongs to the demographic that we're told will be the majority in the U.S. by 2040, non-white people. Miles gets bitten by a radioactive spider, then starts sticking to stuff. The quite possibly symbolic thing about being a teen male from whose body sticky white goo suddenly starts spurting is very well leavened, tempered here by the arrival of Spider-Girl. They aren't kidding about the spider-ocentric universe. There's even an amusing Spider-Man character drawn in black and white.
Wow, you have to like spiders. Let's take a look.
What are you doing, bud?
I can't move. Okay, relax your fingers. We don't have time. Just let go. Be in the moment. I am in the moment. It's a terrible moment. They're right there. They're gonna see you. Miles, you gotta unstick. What do you do to relax? Relax. Needless to say, oh, for crying out loud. Calling it quits now, baby. I'm a wreck. You're a wreck. Ah!
Teenagers, just the worst.
Now, when I recommend a film to somebody that's a little complex or a little on the intellectual side, I will often hear, hey, I go to the movies to relax. Fair enough. But I found this perpetually frenetic animated feature exhausting to watch. I'll take the pace of Christopher Reeve as Superman any day over this. But I'm also not the target audience. So if you do go, stay in your seat until the very end of the credits. You'll be rewarded by a song with amusing lyrics and a time travel coda that reminds us how animation has evolved. Notice I didn't say improved, just changed.
Okay, well, looking back at history and the evolution of technology, one very archaic throwback is newspapers. They've played an important role in movies since movies began, and René Clair's 1944 film, It Happened Tomorrow, is re-released here this week. Tell us more about it.
Well, René Clair was a successful French director who made his way to Hollywood, and this is the fanciful and fun vintage tale of a reporter, played by Dick Powell, who manages to get the news via a cosmic personal newspaper, always a day ahead of time. Now, this greatly facilitates impressing the chicks and being in the right place at the right time, but knowing the future can also be a double-edged sword.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Lisa. We'll leave you with a clip of that film featuring Dick Powell and Linda Darnell. Do check out our website for more arts, culture and movie news, and you can keep up with us on social media too. Stay with us here on France 24. There's more news coming up just after this.
What is going to happen?
There's going to be a holdup.
What kind of a story is that?
3 bandits will come into the lobby.
Listen to the music. I can hear that later.
No, it's going to happen right now. They'll pretend to ask for tickets, and then one man will draw a pistol.
Shh.